The one.
Cool. I'm gonna start the recording. Uh, we have breadcrumbs on display over here. How do you say his name, Mateus?
Farelo.
Farel?
Farelo.
Yeah, yeah. So today in the meeting, our meeting host is Farel. Yeah, very
Uhum.
graciously already put together our agenda. So thank you, Farel. Kitty cat.
Uhum.
I have to find the tab where I have the meeting agenda. And then I'm gonna put it on the screen, and we're all gonna marvel in its brilliance. Once I, yeah, okay. Hello to the internet. It's April 2nd, I think. It's a Thursday, and we're all hanging out here on Zoom for the Flux Dev meeting call. I'm gonna share the agenda as well, so it's in the recording. Um, who's here? No Augie today, but it was really cool to meet Augie in person at KubeCon last week. Yeah, me, Mateus, Kingdon, and Deep D, and we're talking about Helm bugs, Spire Bootstrap, and SSA Ignore Rules PR. Mateus, can I just bump this up so that we can get to Deep D stuff? She needs to go up
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something. Okay, I'm gonna move that as the second item. But yeah, Deep D Kingdon, while we were waiting for you to join and before the recording started, Mateus and I were discussing some of the Helm bugs that are currently in the Helm 4 SDK, specifically for Helm 3 behaviors that were previously supported that are now breaking end users who are upgrading to Flux 2.8 with their charts. Because even when you're in use Helm 3 defaults, stuff is still broken. Just there's been like some rendering changes and things like that. So, Matthias, you're saying our fork of Helm that we sort of decided to merge into Flux 2.8 patch release
Yeah.
fixes the triple dash YAML separator on the same line as the API version thing. It's an invalid YAML document, but the uh, Helm chart is valid in Helm 3. And you said there's an existing Go template function that Helm 3 uses to fix this behavior. The PR that we used in our fork is now merged in Helm SDK. But you're going to be following up with an additional PR that improves the behavior of that function that's been in Helm for like 8 years, right?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, what we shipped already in a Flux patch is still not merged. Is the first PR that needs to be merged there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that this PR is basically switching the code I wrote for like fixing the triple dash API version thing. Like I wrote freestyle code for that and was a bad idea, obviously. And it's a
Mm.
PR just to no, don't use my code. Use this function, this Go function that Helm has
Oh,
for
okay.
8 years now that does this that fixes.
So
Um,
you kind of like patched it in a bespoke way for the 2.8 patch release to reduce the breakage. And then
yeah,
in order
yeah.
to
What?
fix this formally in upstream Helm 4 SDK, you're like, hey,
Yeah,
there's already a function here. Let's
yeah,
call that. And
yeah,
then you said somebody else discovered that you can
yeah,
improve that function's behavior now that
yeah.
everyone knows it
Uh,
exists again.
Yeah, not only like improve, but also actually fix some cases that because one thing leads to another. Like fixing the first bug causes another bug,
Yes.
right? Like just using this function that is there in the Helm code base for many years fixes one problem and causes another one. So my second PR on top of my first PR in Helm that is still open. So what we have in Flux already, in Flux 2.8.3, we have my first PR that is still open in Helm. That's why we had the fork. Then I have a second PR on top of this one to fix this bug caused by the first PR which essentially like eliminates less white spaces
Yeah.
in the YAML
Um,
documents when
so that bug
when
is existing in all of Helm 3,
yes.
but it's going to be improved or sort of half fixed in Helm 4, but also still retaining the behavior that is intended to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a risk that that doesn't get merged, that second PR that you're talking about, because they might just want bug for bug compatibility with Helm 3. We'll see. Um,
Yeah, we'll
and
see.
then okay, and then the third one is the post render behavior.
Yeah,
Um,
all of this is in post renders, by the way. Like
yeah,
it's all of these PRs are related to post renders behavior.
and the
And
reason why Flux users find it is because Flux users are probably the most adamant post renderer users.
it's so adamant that they don't even have to opt in into post renders in a Helm release, and they're still exercising post renders code path in Helm because, like, just to add our own labels to the resources, say, hey,
Hmm.
this is managed by this Helm release. We use post renders for that, so
Right,
you don't
right.
even put spec.post renders. You're still using it, so
Yeah.
it's post renders all the way. So that's this third PR that I only pushed it to a branch. I didn't even open the PR yet because it's a stack, right? And I don't want to
Yeah.
scare them. Uh, it's for solving this yet another problem in post renders of, okay, now in Helm 4, hooks are also passed to post renders, which wasn't the case in Helm 3. And okay, Helm has supported, like in the charts, duplicating resources between hooks and templates. For example, RBAC, which is exactly the case of the issue we saw in Flux. They have this source account that is declared as a pre-install hook, hence why it has to be a duplication,
Hmm.
right? It has to exist before the chart is installed for a pre-install hook. So this hook needs this source account, and then the same source account is also created as a template, not as a hook without the hook annotations.
Yeah.
And
Definitely
what?
could just be a different service account with the same with a role binding, to both
Yeah,
of them. But I mean,
yeah. I mean,
people
yeah,
are just
exactly.
gonna do what
Like,
they're gonna do. Yeah. Why
yeah,
not
yeah,
duplicate the
like,
resources? Sure.
yeah, like you could probably fix the chart, right? But
Yes. Yeah.
we need to fix the behavior to
So
so everybody doesn't
what
have to fix all the chart.
what is the fix here though? Like when
The
you
fix
post
is
render, like the resource is duplicated.
it
KYAML
basically
doesn't
s-
support. Do we need to run post renders on the hooks
twice separately.
separately and then
Yes.
join them together?
Yeah. Like I have a PR,
So
like not a
that
PR, but
way the chart, I see.
yeah, you can
Okay.
basically do two separate streams of post renderers, right? Like you basically don't send everything to the post render because that's going to be customized. Customized does not allow multiple object references or multiple objects in the
Yeah.
stream. So yeah, basically we split before passing to post
Okay.
renders,
I have a
do it
question.
separately. Yeah.
Um, what are we gonna do here with the post rendered labels? Because I think what I didn't realize was that there's a pretty big behavioral change. Our labels are being added to hooks now with Helm 4 SDK for Helm 3 charts.
Hmm.
So does that mean that drift correction behavior changed with Helm 4 for Helm 3 compatibility stuff?
So our drift detection and correction feature looks it opens up the YAML manifest inside the Helm storage. It's a diff between the Helm storage and the cluster state. So Helm it will work because Helm does not put the hooks in the storage. So we don't look
except
at
for when you render with Helm 3 compatibility, um, and you have a chart with hooks, we'll get a release when you upgrade to Flux 2.8, right? With
mm, I'm not sure I'm following.
Because the post render is going to change the hooks in storage, and
In
then
storage? Why in
because
storage?
before the hooks wouldn't get labels, and now they're going to get labels, right?
But what does it, okay, they're gonna get labels, but like how does that make them land in storage?
Oh, the hooks don't go into storage.
Yeah, like that's what Helm does. It doesn't keep hooks in storage.
But then the hashes that we're tracking,
Hmm?
or the hashes we're tracking for the config, do they change as a result of the render making the hooks different from before? Or do we test this? Do we have a test that says
I
that
need to check.
I don't think I thought about this edge case before because I think it probably caught us all by surprise, right? That post render is now applying to hooks.
Yeah.
So does that mean, I guess, yeah, there's a couple of questions to look into. I'm not sure how high priority this finding out the answer to that is versus fixing these bugs, but that's that's worth looking into.
Yeah.
Um, do you understand where my question's coming from, Mateus? Because obviously you have way more context on this than I do. But
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand the question where it comes from. Like, okay, now
yeah,
that we pass hooks into post renders, we add labels, etc. What else is changing related to hooks that we need to
yeah,
be concerned about? For example, are they landing in the storage now or not? Right? Like, yeah, these are valid concerns.
yeah. Or even it's just like, are there hashes that are changing in our state machine that can cause a lifecycle change?
Right. Yeah. All those
Because
hashes
like,
that we keep track of to decide whether we need an upgrade or not.
yes, because then this could be a situation where somebody doesn't have any change in their desired state, but then it causes 1,000 Helm releases to do an upgrade.
Right.
Um, and that's just that upgrade is happening just from them going from, I don't know, Flux 2.6 to 2.8. Right. So
Yeah.
they do an upgrade, and now like when they like it's gonna re-release all their Helm charts and run all their hooks again.
Yeah. But if let's say if we no, but this is already released. Yeah, like we had this problem in it like for releasing Flux 2.8, we like I remember clearly, I think we were in one of these Flux Dev meetings where you said, hey, make sure that we're not gonna have all the ham releases in the cluster being upgraded when Flux is upgraded, right? And that was solved by, I was surprised. Somebody thought about this a long time ago. Like he did, of course. He did thought about this a long time ago and left this field in the Helm release snapshot
Hmm.
uh that
Yeah,
we
for
store in status.
the version of the snapshot, yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
that you
API
can,
version of, yeah,
because now you can stamp, okay, we're doing Helm 4 behaviors. But the reason why my question is pertinent though is the SDK behavior is changing unilaterally for Helm 4 and Helm S and Helm 3. right? Like that's the problem is that the hook behavior with post render has changed
Yeah.
even when you're in Helm 3 compatibility, right? So even when you're on a Helm release, like trying to do Helm 3 behaviors, just using the Helm 4 SDK is changing the way that the chart is rendered.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there could be, I think we have tests, that cover this, right? Because the goal was to make sure that the chart wouldn't release, and we wanted to do that end to end. But I'm just suspicious that, like, did the chart that we are testing have the hooks enabled? Like, did we probably? I just it's just something to think about,
Hmm.
since the post render is affecting the hooks and it wasn't before.
Yeah.
And so
But yeah, like
um
Helm SDK is going to take care of running behaviors that are attached to chart API v2 and v3. So it will see, oh, this is a chart API v2, then I have to run these behaviors. Oh, this is actually a chart API v3, then I have to run these other behaviors. And this is going to be transparent for us in Helm controller.
yeah, I think my question here is, does it make sense for us, since we're going to split the streams for post render for hooks to two different streams, to do we want to add the labels to the hooks, or do we want to maintain the behavior from before?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Right,
Yeah,
like
this,
when you're in Helm 3 mode versus Helm 4 mode, right? Like, are we going to run the post render for everything or not? Because if you want perfect backwards compat, the labels were not there before. So even Flux's
yeah,
base post render stuff. But then also every post render, right? Like if you're in Helm 3 mode and you do a post render, like it, like something that you specify and then desired state. Before it wouldn't apply to hooks, and now it does.
yeah,
And then it's like, okay, do we need to add a docs page for this? Do we need to put it in a doc string? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. And also, I
whereas
mean,
like,
this
what's the
helm,
consequence?
like
Yeah.
this Helm tree mode is something that we invented, and like there's no such thing when you're using the SDK, you don't say, "Hey, I want Helm tree mode." But in Flux, we created this use Helm tree defaults feature gate
Yes.
that basically controls two things that we decided that, oh, because we were aware of those things, so we can, oh, like, okay, we're gonna make a Helm 3 compatibility mode, then we know what we have to put there. It turns out
Yeah.
that we didn't know everything. Like, and
No, we didn't
and
know
also,
everything,
and the
and
code does not allow switching because the things we knew, which was server-side apply and health checks, Helm
yes,
SDK allows you to choose the behavior, right? Like you can choose client-side apply versus server-side apply. You can choose legacy health checks versus case status.
does the Helm
So
CLI also allow you to flip between these behaviors? I don't know.
yeah, yeah, like
Oh, okay.
you,
So
yeah,
so that stuff is exposed to the Helm users as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
But this
So
this post render thing would probably
mm,
not be exposed.
completely like
Yeah.
they
Uh-huh.
did it YOLO, basically.
Yeah. Well, it was
Changed
probably
a bunch of
unintentional,
things.
because
Yeah,
the test coverage wouldn't have surfaced it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because yeah, it was not very complete on the tests. Okay. Well, we've
Yeah.
rambled on about Helm bugs. Is there a fourth bug? You said a fourth PR?
No, no, it's like, I mean, there, if you count the PR that was already merged for Helm 413 that we got in Flux 2.8.2, then that would be make four PRs. But we don't need to count that one. I guess too
That
much
one was
context.
the um.
The
I'm trying
one
to
that
remember.
that one was the one that I tried to fix the triple dash problem with my own code.
Oh yeah, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Question.
Okay.
So 2.8.3 fixes the triple hyphen issue. Is there a 2.8.4 coming with the other hooks related issue that we were discussing?
Yeah, we have 2.8.4 coming on Tuesday, with a bunch of fixes. There's also a fix in source controller for buckets in Azure, by the way. Uh, so in, yeah, since you're talking
Let's
about
I'm
Azure,
gonna take some notes, yeah, on this actually. Yeah.
yeah,
Azure bucket bug fix.
yeah.
This one is for bucket prefixes, right?
Yeah, spec.prefix, like it's a server-side filtering for the Bucket API that is supported for a long time for AWS, MinIO, the generic provider for buckets, and Google. Only Azure was not implemented this prefix, but it was like very simple fix. I have already we already merged the fix and backported. It's just passing the prefix into the function call, like just that. Like we were not wiring the prefix argument with the options of the Azure SDK. So that's how I did. I tested it. It's like it works as expected. Uh, yeah, there's that.
Was it a customer reported issue, or was it reported by someone, or just discovered by review or something?
We
Uh,
have an open issue for it, right?
Mm.
an open issue?
Or well, there
Maybe
was
I
an
don't
issue
know.
that was closed for it, right?
No, it was reported by a user,
Is-
like via DM. They pinged me. Yeah.
And
So yeah, there's that. I don't know. Sorry, backported means sorry. It does not. It's not 2.7. Is it's
To the
merged to main and backported to
2.8.
2.8 branch. Yeah, yeah. So going on the next patch. Also, what else?
oh, this is
Yeah,
not being bug fixed in 2.7 as well, Mateus? Only 2.8.
only 2.8. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Could you summarize if there is an issue, then if you can link the issue for the Azure bucket bug fix, but if not, could you report like what was the behavior that the user reported that was
Well,
missing
the
without the
the
prefix?
behavior is that
base
that it wouldn't
prefix was
filter.
not working. Yeah,
Well,
pref.
yeah, so like the bucket would get cloned like fully,
Ah,
Yeah. It.
even
Do
if
you
the
want to
prefix
open the
option was there.
PR, Lee? If you show the PR is
Yeah,
like four liner. See the last merged PRs in source controller.
yeah. Mm, uh, and we have to good place. And Azure Blob prefix option not passed.
Yeah.
Files changed. So here on visit objects in Azure Blob Go, um, if we pass options prefix,
okay. It was just
then
not being plumbed through at all. Okay.
now it just passes
Yeah.
opts to this new list blobs flat pager, which that's the blob client, presumably Azure specific. And there's a test, but yeah,
Yeah.
basically it would clone the bucket completely. And the
Hmm.
person who found this and told us about it was using a large bucket, and the bucket clone was timing out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, makes sense.
So they weren't able to filter a large bucket to a smaller um, amount of objects. And that is how it got fixed, was just passing the option. It's just missing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another bug fix in customized controller, which is in the new feature we released in 2.8, the feature gate cancel health check on new revision. It was not returning requeue true, basically. When the health checks get canceled, the controller has to return the reconcile result to controller runtime, and it was like empty, no requeue true, no requeue after with some number. So we basically changed it to requeue true, which causes like the problem was sometimes uh it's a race condition inside controller runtime. Like you would get your customization stuck basically without this. So and and this fixes it because there's deduplication in controller runtime. So let's say the race, the bad side effect of the race happened, then you don't have any items in the queue for that object. Then this requeue through will fix it. We'll have like we'll make okay. There's the object is in the queue again. Whereas if the race happened, but the like the happen in the way in the happy way, right? Like in the oh the we already have an item in the queue, then there's the duplication logic. So this is like just saying a bunch of words here to say there's not going to be two reconciliations. This is not going to cause two reconciliations. It's always going to be one, basically. If that makes sense. I think I did a terrible job explaining myself.
Was this fixing the issue that somebody had reported on Slack where they were seeing that they could get the customize reconcile into a stale state by pushing lots of changes to the sources, or was this unrelated to that?
I think it's related to what you said, but I think it came from an issue and not the Slack thread.
I wonder if maybe we should follow up with that person to is there a release candidate image for this, or did we just are we just going to ship it in the patch?
Patch
So they are gonna see that in 284 next week.
Tuesday.
Okay, so when we cut 284, then they do we want to ask if they can test the RC already
Uh,
and see if it fixes
I
their
don't know.
problem?
Actually, I sorry. Actually, we did cut an RC, posted in the thread, in the issue. They tested it. It works.
But that was for the issue. Maybe we need to also reach out to that user who reported the other thing on Slack. Or I
Oh,
wonder if it's the
yeah, I
same user
guess.
who created the issue.
Yeah, I'm.
Okay,
Maybe it's just my memory failing, but yeah, yeah, we should do that for
okay,
whoever reached
yeah,
out in
maybe,
Slack as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because is it possible with this not returning requeue that you could race to a state where the customization would not reconcile and it would be stale?
That's exactly what was being
Yeah,
reported.
that
Like,
sounds similar to what I fielded on and was talking with Stefan on Slack. So maybe two people found
mm,
it, or maybe it's the same thing.
mm.
Um, okay, cool. Well,
This issue impacts only users who have the feature gate enabled, or the cancel health check
Correct.
on new revision feature gate. So for
Correct.
who has
And
no behavior change for someone who has not opted into it, right?
correct. It's only for whoever enabled the feature gate. And it was only in customized controller because for some reason, I'm not sure blaming my AI assistant helps here, but I mean, it's my fault. Like I did it in Helm controller correctly, but not in customized controller. So Helm controller has queued through. Customized
but this has
controller
been in
didn't.
customized controller for since 2.7, right?
Yeah,
Or two.
in customized controller this behavior evolved, right? In customized
Right,
controller,
right, right. We had
yeah,
before it was a different implementation, and then we
yes.
switched the behavior in customized controller into 8 and introduced this bug. Um,
Yes,
So
correct.
2.7
okay.
has the feature gate but does not have the issue.
Yes.
Okay. And 2.8, we made some changes, introduced the bug, and now we're fixing it with 2.8.4.
Yeah, and here's the
Yes.
PR that
Yes.
fixes that. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I guess while we're on the call, we might as well look at the code that changed. Uh,
Yep.
sick. I love the comment. All right. Requeue immediately to ensure object is reconciled against new revision in the eventuality of a stale runtime cache that would cause the source predicate filter to drop the reconcile request. In the case where, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So if the predicate filter misses it because it hasn't been updated yet and this ends up in there, then Yeah, in the case of the
Yeah,
cache is correct and the object's already
honestly,
in the queue, the new reconcile request will be dropped by the controller runtime dedupe logic. So we don't need to risk reconciling twice in the same revision. I like it.
yeah. Like I
Nice
mean
comment.
the
Yeah.
yeah, I mean what my AI assistant found as the root cause inside controller runtime, the code that was causing the race was so much more complicated than this comment. Yeah, I guess this comment put it nicely. Like yeah,
Yeah. Uh, that's a yeah. There's a lot of context there on like what's happening in controller runtime and API server. Um,
yeah.
that that why that makes sense.
Yeah, basically it's
So
just say this is safe, like we're not gonna reconcile twice. Like the concern was if we do
yeah,
this, are we gonna reconcile twice? No, we're not. So
I mean with customized controller reconciling twice is also not that big of a deal too. Right, like
yeah,
it's gonna reconcile twice at some point. So, but
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, for performance reasons, that it's ideal if it's correct. But at the end of
yeah.
the day, it's fine. Um, okay, cool. We're finally at Deepti's um point.
Actually, before we go to mine, in the Helm bugs, could we also write what is missing now? The hooks related issue, like maybe a one-liner.
Yeah, I think I was incomplete there, but um hooks now render and get patched by post renderers um in Helm 4 SDK and because of that um duplicate resources in example pre-install hook, you know, using the same exact, service
Service
account.
account.
It's an example, but it
Yeah,
could be
but
anything, right?
any resource.
Yeah, uh, creates a valid YAML list that is invalid in KYAML. Um, and because of that, uh, customized post renderer fails.
Yeah.
De Depends on KYAML. So this is
Is there a
invalid input for
is
Flux.
there a workaround, or like whoever has this like resource, what can they do other than
I would change the service account name for the hook, I guess. Right?
And then update the role binding to bind to both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
Like
can make the role binding bind to service accounts that exist or don't exist, and that's fine. But there's no reason that the hook should be using the same exact name.
yeah, like you need RBAC for the
Yeah.
resources of the chart, and you need RBAC for the hooks of the chart. You could just create RBAC separately instead of using the same for both things in this
Yeah.
example.
And like people would be like, oh, what are all these role bindings and stuff? But I mean, at least it's clear when you're looking in the namespace that there's, RBAC for two different things because the hook is doing something else for the database or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, Duplicate
Yeah.
resources and example, a pre-install hook. Uh,
And by the way, that one may only land in Helm 4.2 in 1 month from now.
this is in the,
Today, actually, in less than an hour from now, I'm gonna join their meeting and see what I can do for like asking them to review and merge the PRs. There's no PR for that bug yet because, as I said, it's like would be the third one in the stack. So they need to merge a few PRs first so I can add more to the stack.
Mhm.
And
So, and if
yeah.
it gets merged in 4.2, does that mean that, I mean, will we eventually pick it up in 2.8 will there be a 2.8.5 picking that up? Or does that mean that it'll
I,
2.8.4 users have to live with this behavior?
I guess if we make at least them merge into main branch, we're probably gonna be okay with um, cherry picking the things we need in our fork, in the Flux fork of Helm, and and then we ship the most urgent fixes there. as long as they merge it. Because if we otherwise this is it. We're branching forever, and now we have to maintain a fork of Helm, right? So
Yeah, and like how many did you have a lot of users? Did you come across a lot of users encountering this hooks related issue, or was it like rare?
uh yeah, like this there were like at least I'd say four users or five uh thumbing up and writing comments in the hook related issues because as I said, like Flux uses every all of those bugs are related to post renderers, and
It does
post
it by
renderers,
default.
yeah, like post renderers
Yeah.
is 100% of the ham releases in Flux.
Yeah.
So it's wide impact.
Hmm. And even with 2.8.4, this will not get addressed is the main thing. So like even being on the latest Flux release, they'll still encounter this issue unless they change their charts
Yeah, like
resources.
we're gonna do a patch release. Like we really this is the bottleneck, the merging some of our PRs because we could even have done 284 already this week, but we can't we can't ship a lot of code in Helm in a fork, right? Because it might never be merged, and then we're gonna have a big problem in our hands. So basically, like the delay here is Helm's speed in merging our fixes. As soon as they merge, we can ship patches.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Cool. Like yeah, is like even if let's say if they merge it in main but only release in Helm 4.2, which we are only gonna upgrade to Helm 4.2 in Flux 2.9 3 months from now, like we don't have to wait for that. We like as long as they merge it to main, we can cherry pick in our fork and do a Flux patch as soon as possible. We have no qualms with doing a Flux patch during the night if needed, so you get these fixes to for everybody because they're really bad. They're like really impactful. Main users affected by them. It's just that we just need Helm to merge some PRs. Otherwise, we're split forever. It's gonna be really bad. Yeah. Like
Um,
I was feeling we were gonna have to do a fork of Helm. Like before 2.8 was released, I was actually considering that. And
it's funny because
fortunately,
it's not the first time that we've talked about forking Helm and carrying patches and things like that, but it's always like the answer has always been like definitely not. But just with these behavioral changes and like the need to provide Helm 3 backwards compat, and then us like not actually like having Helm 3 SDK as a separate dependency, like when we made that decision in what November to do Helm 4 with Helm 3 compatibility through the Helm 4 SDK, we already knew that this was going to be a risk, right?
yeah.
And it's like we should have we should have anticipated, that there were going to be more issues and maybe tried to.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
I
else we
mean,
could have done to try and scrub the differences. Like I guess you had Cloud Code like look through the differences at the SDK like line by line, but I don't remember it catching this in the report. So maybe we could have tried stochastically to brute force it a little bit more, and maybe could have found it, or because it would have this change would have had to be in the diff, but I guess like non-obvious, right? Like before the stream of YAML that was being passed to the post renderer like was assembled differently, and like it was subtle enough
yeah.
that like no one noticed. you know? Um,
Yeah. But like we
maybe
were actually expecting.
commit messages
Yeah.
might have caught it if we would have maybe AI analyzed the log, the commit log diff.
Yeah, but also,
Then we
I mean,
might have noticed the behavioral difference.
there's only so much we can do as well, right? Like, imagine how much time it was gonna take if we were this thorough
Yeah,
and
there's
found
definitely a big
everything.
reason
Like,
why I haven't made that video telling people to upgrade to the Flux 2.8 yet. Like, I don't want people to have to deal with this shit like until it's stable.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, it's gonna
but
be a messy period. Like,
yeah,
and I mean, Helm is suffering from some of those problems as well. I mean, we got unlucky in this post-renderers path because it's like something we rely heavily on, and it's now full of bugs. And yeah,
yeah.
this is
It's
happening.
easy for somebody to roll back the Helm binary in their CLI, but it's a little bit harder to roll back Flux across their fleet, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
and like everything gets coupled. They want to use new API features, all that stuff. So like
But yeah,
it,
like I mean,
yeah,
like if we decided to import a Helm 3 and Helm 4 SDK separately, also like, I, basically, I don't think we could have shipped Helm 4 in time for Flux.8. It's gonna delay more, and
yeah. We almost would have needed to support somebody just running like a older version or a different version stream of Helm controller. Honestly, that would have probably been the cleanest way to factor that dependency and to just yeah carry security updates to the Helm 3 SDK or something, which the Helm team did not want to do that upstream. So like we
yeah,
made the right choice. It's just this is what it is.
yeah,
But
yeah. Also, like Helm,
I bet you 2 years from now, we're gonna find something where the Helm 3 behavior is different.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I hope we can like at least fix the bulk of it in the beginning and get past these tough times. Like, but
yeah,
Helm itself is also suffering from these problems of major breaking
yeah,
changes. Like, for example, I fixed one bug there that was impacting everything, everybody, even CLI users, not just Flux users, which was um, CRs getting deleted when you bump
yeah,
the
uh-huh,
the API version, right? Like that
yeah.
was
That was
pretty
really bad.
pretty fucked up. That was pretty
Good catch,
fucked up.
good catch. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Well, this is why we have our relationship with Helm and why Scott is over there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, cool. Anyway, DP, I took some more detailed notes. So hopefully,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I
Helps
think,
to whenever we update, we can look back on the notes and the
yeah,
recording. Yeah, I think.
yeah. Um, so I don't know. Like, we don't have the links for the PRs right now, but we only have a few minutes left in the meeting, so let's at least definitely talk about. I'm just gonna say that I'm going to the Spire dev call after this, and Mateus is going to the Helm dev call. Mateus is going to the Helm dev call to talk about all these bugs and make some progress on them, so we can hopefully get them shipped to you in a Flux patch for anyone listening on this call. I'm going to the Spire dev call to talk about some spiffy spec stuff. Or sorry, the spiffy spec dev call is I think what I'm going to try and convince them that we need some stuff for Flux. Um, that's all we have to talk about on the Spire stuff. So the only
Yeah,
thing left is the SSA ignore rules thing, which
yeah.
uh, I'm guessing this is a in customized controller. Is
Yeah,
there code
package
to
and
post?
customized controller. So I've linked I shared the package PR in the chat.
Okay,
I
cool.
mean, quick summary is that we're adding the JSON diff ignore rules to the SSE apply options. In the create path, there are no changes, but in update path, in the apply and apply all, if the rules have been specified, then the uh, for the objects that match the rule, we'll ignore the fields that have been specified by the JSON paths. Um, I think the main thing over here is that when we do the SSA apply, for the ignored stripping off the ignored fields. um, when we do the apply, Flux basically drops ownership of these fields. So what that means is that if it's not owned by any other field manager, then if it's an optional field, it gets deleted. If it's a mandatory field, then we are not allowed to drop the ownership. Only if it has been co-owned or forcibly some other manager has taken ownership of those fields, only then does it do the right thing. So that's like the important caveat
Oh,
with this.
that's cool. So basically, you made Flux detect that if there's something in the desired state, um, but and or maybe that's not even important. Um, the desired state is not part of that decision, right? It's only if Flux is dropping the field, but something else does not explicitly own it.
Own it, yeah.
And how are you detecting that from the dry run?
No, I think when we do the SSA apply, I don't. It's not in the like in that path. We are just stripping it. I think it's the SSA's behavior that when we apply, if there is no field or no other field manager owning the field, then it if it's an optional field, it deletes it and Kubernetes like garbage collects it. And if it is a mandatory field, then SSA does not let the Kubernetes doesn't let that operation to go through. Like so for suppose, for example, it is something like a spec.selector on a deployment, which is a mandatory field that you're not allowed to drop it without another manager.
So without the manager there, you can't drop it. But what if Flux is first?
Yeah, then the Flux sees an error. If there's no owner, if it leads to no owner, so that's the error. And I think I have tests that tell what the exact error is. It says that the mandatory field cannot be dropped. So the user has incorrectly, asked to ignore a field that is not owned by another manager and is a mandatory field.
Oh, it feels like this kind of use case, you would maybe want Flux to be able to put the thing there and then for something to take ownership of it later. Is that naive of me to say? Like typically, say with like a, I don't know, vertical pod autoscaler or something. Like you would want Flux to initialize the resources, drop ownership of the resources, and then for VPA to start to notice that it exists and then steal ownership from Flux. So it seems kind of important, right? Like VPA will never put the pod into the cluster. Flux will always put pod into the cluster.
That's why I think in
So,
the create path, we'll never see this happen. So it's only once Flux has created the thing, and then in a subsequent reconciliation, if ignore rules have been specified. So I think typically the user would have their VPA in place and then have the ignore rules to
okay.
update their customizations. And like
So
in the
this,
create path, it will not impact things. And in the update path, if they have the rules specified, then we will start, removing the fields.
okay. So this doesn't affect Flux creating things.
Right.
It only affects it. Interesting. Okay. And we know that because of the driver, because Flux expects to create the thing when it did a dry run. Like what,
No,
how do
so
we not
that's in
put
the
the ignore
code. So
rules
like
in?
in the code path, in the create portion, we are not touching anything. It's only when the resource has already been created and in a subsequent apply, it's only then that the code kind of takes effect. So like if you see both in the apply all, the changes of I dot action should not be created action. And in the apply, it's only when the resource version is not empty.
Sorry, yeah, I guess the function
Yeah. So I
signatures
think
are kind of
line,
not
yeah,
getting included, but yeah.
I think line 148 here. Uh,
Uh-huh.
So only when it's not so this detects like a not a create case, and then in the apply all, only when the action is not a created action, only then we would go ahead to compile all the ignore rules and remove the ignored fields from the object.
So the existing object is coming from the dry run, I think. Because because SSA is atomic, but because we do a two-stage kind of commit style thing in Flux to check if everything is valid beforehand, we can figure out what will happen beforehand and then get the resource version of the thing in the cluster to know if it's being created or not. Right? Am I thinking about this correctly?
I have to double check that it's coming from the dry run or from the API server itself.
Yeah,
Mm.
because we don't just fetch every resource beforehand. We do that through the dry run. But the dry run would need to know not to put these things, the ignore rules on. So we're going to be dry running without the ignore rules. So the dry run has to be valid, and the dry run Flux might actually try to change things that
Mm,
will be ignored because you
right.
can't
Yeah.
you can't drop stuff. Hmm. Okay. Oh man, I'm gonna try to find a time to review this
Yeah, that would be great. And I have
because
like detailed tests both in package for like all the scenarios for like mutable, immutable fields, forced ownership, co-ownership, all of those, and also
yeah.
in customized controller. So if any
Uh-huh.
behavior looks off or something that we don't want, then yeah, let me know.
I think the only thing that I'm thinking about here is that the thing that we're dry running might not include the ignore rules at all, and I wonder if that is bad or not. Um, that might be something to include in the test behavior is like what is
So
the intermediate state that we
so
expect
you're
to come back.
saying that it's not trivial whether we should remove the fields from the apply patch before or after dry run? Like
Yeah, because DT is basically calling out that it's possible
it's
for
doing after
the
dry run, right? It's modifying.
yeah that I'm only assuming that based off of what I know about how this works, but I feel like we would need to read the code to understand. But that's where my question is coming from. My question is if we need to know that we are creating something in order to decide to drop the ignore rules, then it seems also like we would not be able to conditionally include the ignore rules in the dry run to know if we're creating something, which means that in the case where we're not creating something and we're updating something, the dry run might actually include a diff for a field that Flux doesn't own. And then the dry run succeeds, but then when we actually do the apply, that's when we ignore the
Mm-hmm,
change.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know fully what the consequences of that sort of life cycle would be, right? Like where we're doing a dry run without the ignore rules, and then applying based off of that information. Um,
Yeah, it's a
because the
very
dry
good
run's like
point.
expecting a change. Um, I don't know. Like, do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I'm
We
glad
have
that
this in Helm controller, right? We have.
We do. We have this in Helm controller as well.
How do we do that? Like, what do we do with regards to
yeah, I
what we're
mean,
saying?
it- what I'm saying, like, even it might even be an okay behavior. It's just like I'm trying to
Yeah, we need to
conceptualize.
understand it
Yeah,
first to say if it's okay or not.
yeah. Cool. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for working on this. I'm excited about
Yeah,
it.
if
Also,
you can review the code, that would be great. Yeah.
also, the we had several Flux users come to the booth. I know you were able to be with us in Atlanta, but you couldn't come to Amsterdam, and we had people asking for this. So
Nice.
yeah,
Good.
so real people, real use cases who want the thing that you're building. Just always nice to know. Um, great. We're already 6 minutes past, and I gotta go join the other call in 25 minutes, I think. But Mateus, do you have to jump
Yeah.
to Helm Dev call already?
Yeah, no, it's also 5:30.
Okay. Cool. So technically we're still good, but DT, do you need to jump right now?
Yeah, I think yeah, I
Okay.
have another one in like 5 minutes, 9:15.
Yeah, let's okay. Well, it- this is the package PR, and then there's a customized controller PR that can
Yes,
sync
I
with
think it's
presumably.
linked over here, the customized controller draft
Yeah,
PR,
this one
which
right here.
points
Yeah.
to this fork. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, sweet.
Okay,
Um,
awesome. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
cool. Well, that wraps up our agenda. Goodbye, internet. Until next time. Okay,
All right.
stop the
Thanks all.
See you
share,
next week.
stop the
Bye.
recording.